Captain Brian and His Cellular Boat by Michelle Darling and Natalia Kuzmin.
Once upon a time, about a year ago, Mr. Bryan decided to become a captain and get a boat. He looked at Craigslist for hours until he finally decided to choose one that resembled a cell. Later that same day, Mr. Bryan purchased it from a sketchy little old blind man. The guy warned him about the great dangers of the ship's past, yet Bryan excitedly ignored him.
A cell is similar to a boat because both a cell and a boat have many individual parts that work together to keep the whole functioning properly. After his purchase, Captain Brian first ran to examine the captain's cabin, where he would be doing all of his thinking and planning for future adventures. The door was small and Captain Brian struggled to get in. Not all boats have a captain's cabin, but the large complexity of his beautiful boat made it necessary.
The nucleus of a cell contains genetic material that is used by the cells to regulate everyday function. The captain's cabin contains the tools the captain uses for sea navigation, as well as the captain himself.
Standing in his room, Mr. Bryan suddenly felt a presence. He turned around and heard a voice whisper, "Who is in charge here? I want to speak to the captain."
Nucleolus is the site of ribosome production, and it also stores DNA and RNA. The nucleolus is often said to be the boss of the cell, just like the captain is the head of the ship. Captain Brian knows how to work the ship. Frightened by the strange voice, Mr. Bryan abruptly turned to leave, running straight into a fat mass. The mass spoke. "I have been the chef of this boat for 27 years, and I cannot be fired, especially not by the likes of you, fish meat." Surprised and shocked, Mr. Bryan stumbled and looked up. I won't fire you. I need a chef on this ship," Mr. Bryan said gleefully.
The smoothie R produces lipids and contains enzymes for different metabolic processes. The kitchenette produces food that is used to power the crew on the boat in order to carry out processes within the ship. After an extensive conversation about a new contract, the chef left the room. Captain Brian remained in there for a few more minutes before turning to leave. As he walked through the teeny door, he realized that there was a library connected to his room.
The Rough-ER secretes proteins through the ribosomes attached to it. The library wall of Captain Brian's library, located right next to the captain's cabin, provide the boat with maps and books which secrete knowledge.
After checking his new library, he then left to look at the radio transmitter. Upon arrival, he was disappointed to see that the boat had a very old and sketchy one. The Golgi apparatus is like the radio transmitter on a boat. The Golgi apparatus is the shipping center for the cell, ensuring each protein gets sent to the correct organelle. This is similar to the function of a radio transmitter, sending signals to boats and ensuring that they are received correctly. He then almost ran to check the boat's engine. He had to make sure it wasn't as old as that dusty radio transmitter. Without a new engine, the boat won't be able to work properly. The engine was the powerhouse of the boat.
Mitochondria converts glucose into ATP, useful for providing energy to the cell, allowing the cell to function. The boat motor must be able to provide enough energy to start the boat and keep it running off the energy transferred from the fuel. Both the mitochondria and the motor of the boat are essential.
Finally, he walked up to the top of the ship to look at the view. He then happily realized that his ship had solar panels which would assist in providing and storing energy he could use in case of an emergency. Looking out into the ocean, he felt at peace. The sun panels on a boat are similar to chloroplasts in a cell. The chloroplast inside of a cell converts light wave into usable energy. The solar panels also convert light waves into usable energy.
"Hey, is that Mr. Bryan?" yelled someone from a boat passing by. An egg whizzed by his head and broke at his feet. It was soon joined by two more. "This is what you get for giving me a D on the cell project. It brought my grade down. That brought my GPA down. And my life down." Bryan ran to seek shelter in a nearby storage room. The room was surprisingly tall and filled with shelves, as if to maximize space. The role of the vacuole in a cell varies, but is often used for storage of water, while increasing the surface area to volume ratio. The storage room can be used to store various items useful in the boat. Mr. Bryan stood in the darkness of the storage room, hearing the loud thuds of eggs raining down. As the noises slowly stopped, he watched the light flood in as he saw 5 figures peering in at him. Slowly he walked out, inspecting the damage the eggs had caused. He would have to clean for the rest of the day, he thought to himself. Captain Bryan, don't you worry. We're your cleanup crew, and it's our responsibility to have this boat fully functioning. Once again, said a sailor-dressed worker.
A lysosome in a cell has the same function as the cleanup crew. The lysosome cleans up the waste around a cell, removing organelles that don't function properly anymore. The cleanup crew cleans the boat and removes waste from it. The lysosome also contains hydrolytic enzymes, which are responsible for digestion. The cleanup crew also has many acidic solutions used for cleanup. As Mr. Bryan watched the cleanup crew clean, he realized that there was a big dent in the side of his boat. Captain Bryan went down into the boat's cargo hold to inspect the damage and to make sure that the ship wasn't damaged severely. The body of the boat can be damaged, or else the boat won't be able to maintain its shape and will end up collapsing in on itself.
The function of the cytoskeleton is to provide structure for the cell. The body of the boat gives the boat structure and support, just like that of the cytoskeleton. In order to get into the cargo hold, Captain Bryan has to travel down many little steps with 4 landings in between them. As he went further and further down, the boat seemed to split, and it almost looked like this portion of the boat didn't belong to the top one. The centrioles in a cell help with the process of mitosis, in which the cell divides. The stairs on a boat provide separation between the 2 floors. Satisfied with what he saw, Bryan climbed up the stairs and gave the boat one last look. The cleanup crew was done, and the chef from earlier had left for home. Happily, Bryan stepped outside his boat and locked the door, ensuring that only he and the other staff members with a key could come in. Today was a good day, he said. The cell membrane is selectively permeable, which is similar to the boat door, which only lets in certain people or things.
Captain Bryan and his boat lived happily ever after until the organelles turned on him, but that's a story for another time. Thank you for listening. The end.